Hola chicos, en este video vamos a hablar de las expresiones con el infinitivo. We're going to talk about expressions with the infinitive or infinitive expressions. I've done a previous video on ir plus a plus the infinitive. If you haven't viewed that video, I would pause this one, go back and view the other one, okay? But there are some basic understandings that we can use for either of these situations. The first one is, what is an infinitive? You can't make an infinitive expression if you don't know what it is. Well, we know that it's the most basic form of the verb, and it can be translated to mean to something. So it could be to run, to jump, to swim, to study, to work, whatever you want to say. But that's how we usually translate the infinitive, as to something. And our infinitives in Spanish always end in AR, ER, or IR, and that makes them really easy to identify, okay? It's important to remember that infinitive is the form of a verb. It's not the only form of the verb. It's just the most basic, okay? Other times we're going to conjugate the verb, and that's going to give it a different form. And today we'll see how those two work together. So we've learned a couple infinitives that we've used a lot. So an AR infinitive might be hablar, to speak. ER verb would be correr, to run. Escribir would be an IR verb, to write. And in the previous video, we covered ir plus a plus infinitive. So again, if you haven't viewed that, you should go back and view that. And we use that to talk about the future. Today, we're going to use tener plus que plus infinitive to talk about obligaciones, things that we have to do. So, in this infinitive phrase, we know an infinitive phrase is two verbs working together to communicate one message. So the message in this case is your obligation, okay? And just like with our previous infinitive expressions, you're going to conjugate the first verb, in this case tener, not the infinitive that you choose, not the one you throw in there, okay? So let's say I want to say I have to get a good grade. I might say tengo que, because I'm going to conjugate tengo for yo. I'm going to bring down the que because I don't have to do anything with that. I don't need to change it. And then I'm just going to grab this infinitive, sacar una nota buena en la clase de español. Okay, and I've added more detail to this sentence because that's what makes it a real rich sentence, okay? What we want to make sure we're doing is conjugating tener and not the infinitive. So we don't want to say tengo que saco una nota buena, because if I don't have an infinitive, certainly isn't an infinitive phrase, right? So if I wanted to say you have to study, right? Tienes que estudiar mucho. You have to study a lot, as opposed to tienes que estudias mucho. We have to listen to salsa music. Tenemos que escuchar música salsa, as opposed to tenemos que escuchamos. So we're seeing this pattern. We're conjugating the first verb, we're bringing down the que, and then we're just dropping an infinitive is, depending on the message that we want to communicate. And what I notice about this particular infinitive expression is that sometimes when we compare English and Spanish, things line up very nicely. Like, I need a pencil, right? Yo necesito un lápiz. Easy peasy. Sometimes they don't. In this case, this tener que can be a little bit clumsy, but what's important to remember is I'm communicating an idea or a message. I'm not communicating a word, and that's the difference, okay? So what we need to know is that when we say tener que, boom, we're talking about obligaciones, okay? A couple more examples. Tienen que terminar su tarea. They have to finish their homework, as opposed to tienen que terminan. So again, we're maintaining that conjugation in the first verb, bringing down the que because that's just what we have to do because it's Spanish, right? And then we're grabbing that infinitive here. So if you haven't watched ir plus a plus infinitive, you need to go back and do that. Otherwise, that's it for tener que for today. We'll go ahead and get some practice in. And just remember that we're not translating each word. We're translating the ideas and the messages that we want to get across, okay? Good luck with everything. I will see you in class. Have a good one. Adios.